I don't need to tell any of you that post-secondary fees, tuition fees, are very, very high for Canadians. Well, they are exponentially higher if you are coming from outside of this country to study here. Really, really expensive, very difficult for international students to afford quite often. And the funding options available to them can be quite limited. This is an issue for institutions who want to attract the best and the brightest. And there's an interesting program we're going to talk to today between Libro Credit Union and a couple of the big business schools in this country. Our guest is Shawn Good. He is the president and CEO of Libro Credit Union, and he joins us from London, Ontario. Hello there.
Bruce, thank you. Thanks for having me on the show.
So, I serve on the advisory board of the Smith School of Business at Queen's University. It's how I heard about this program. We've been talking for years about the importance of international students in those programs and the challenge they have in affording tuition because it's quite significant. So, let's start with the problem. How do you see the problem or challenge for international students?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say, first of all, like the from a Libro perspective, we are a credit union. So maybe just a second to level set around who we are and why that matters, because I think it connects to the question, Bruce. So we're 100% Canadian, 100% local, and we're owned by the people we serve. And so our purpose, we're very much purpose driven, is to really build financial well-being and enhance that for the communities we serve. And so when we look at that, a lot of times that's around access, that's around inclusion. And so one of the barriers is the cost for sure. There's others as people look to get into really high quality education programs like what Queens are offering. And so we think that education and leadership is really part of the ingredient to healthy and vibrant communities and vibrant local economies. And so partnering with Queens for us helps make that more accessible for folks who are looking to get into the program. There's a lot of other barriers as they look to break into that, but that's one thing that we can help open the door to.
Any lender has to assess the suitability of the borrower. With international students, there are hurdles to prove that they will be good customers and able to pay you back. How do you approach that question of whether you're going to grant the loan or not? What is the same as anybody else, and what needs to be different because of the circumstances that they arrive with?
Yeah, so first of all, we have some experience here. So we have been doing this with other leading business schools across Ontario, and so we have some history to build on. I think what's really important for individuals is to connect in this case with the Smith School of Business team. Dean Perda and her team are amazing, and think about what's the right path. And as you explore that, what are the different hurdles that you and individual students might uniquely face? For us, we think as they go through that process with the team there and select a program, it's important that we make that as easy as possible. So one of the first things is just they will in turn, if they get approved through that process, connect with a Libro coach and have that conversation around banking in Canada and some of the process and vernacular and just removing that. But from a qualification perspective, that's something we've built with Queens as they go through the entry process and make sure that it qualifies. But we have the support in this case of Queens and our experience. We make that really quite easy.
How do you, though, determine? I mean, if you were to sell them a house, you have the ability to foreclose and get the asset. If you were to sell them a car or finance a car, you could repossess it. If they were doing, they always lived in Canada and they're going to work here in Canada, you have a higher likelihood that physician is going to get a job at a hospital and pay you back. There seems to be more uncertainty here. And while you are a credit union and accountable to your membership, you're pretty deeply grounded in metrics and quant and return on investment and all those things. So how do you assess that in the absence of a credit score like somebody else would bring?
Yeah, so you need to think beyond credit scores. So I think we take a bit of a unconventional approach in this regard to think more broadly, and the experience is really clear. Like lots of stories around. These are These are students who will invest in business and innovation and become part of the Canadian fabric that go on to do really cool things. And they have partnered with Libro in many ways, bringing us into the classroom to begin with. And then after they're done their programs, the history is really clear that this has been a successful partnership. So from my perspective, we're ready to partner with Queens, and we have the backing and support of Queens, and we will work together, and the risk is very low.
What has the culture, the history, and the approach of credit unions be different than the banks?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the origin of how credit unions started, like Libro, was around access. And the issue today isn't so much around access to credit. In this case, it is. If you're coming into Canada, that's one of the barriers that we can remove. But more broadly, it's access to advice and having a plan. And you'll know the data, Bruce, from your work, that there's so many people who don't believe they can afford to retire, or the financial stress is real. So at Libro and credit unions like us, we have this view, this long view. Let's do the right thing, and we can be patient in terms of it doesn't have to be something that returns a dividend in the next 90 days. We can take the long view about supporting people and being there to help them become successful. And that, in our view, has paid off in dividends. And so doing the right thing for our members isn't, in our case, at odds with our owners. We don't have to have a dividend return for Bay Street every quarter because the people that we serve are our owners. We take this long view.
Yeah, really interesting stuff. Shawn, thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
Shawn Good, President and CEO of Libro Credit Union. He was here to talk about Libro's efforts to provide funding or financing for international students. The most recent manifestation of that work is with the Smith Business School at Queen's University.